Okay, so the next model we're going to create is a hyperbola. Start the same way we started the rest of them. I'm going to start a sketch and create that cone. Again, if you want to reuse the cone, that's fine. Half the cone is 45 and the height is 120. Now, you can see I have this fully defined in terms of dimensions, but it isn't showing it as fully defined, so it's still blue. And if I drag the bottom point of it, I can move it around. What's wrong there is I didn't attach that point to the origin. So the origin is a fixed point in space. And if we attach, if we attach a corner to that, it'll fully define the sketch then. So if I click on the corner, hold control and click on the origin and make them coincident, the whole sketch becomes black then, so I can't move that anymore if I try to drag it. So features, revolve, boss, base, that's fine. And I'm going to put my color on that again. So I'm going to make it brown glass, the same as I did the last two times. Now, if I just sketch in that front plane, we discussed with the ellipse that the angle of the plane is either between the angle of the cone and the horizontal plane and anywhere in between. The angle of the plane for a hyperbola is between the angle of the cone and the vertical plane. Okay, so if I just get rid of that vertical relation. So it can either be vertical or up to that angle of the cone. Anything in between there, a plane anywhere between there, will give us a hyperbola. So I'm going to use the same method as I did before. I'm going to start a sketch on that side. I'm going to draw a line down to the base, making sure that base point is horizontal across from the origin. Now I want this cutting through the object. So I can either have it the angle of the cone or vertical, anything in between. I'm going to do this one vertical just for the demonstration. All right. So I have to move that now into where it's going to be cutting the cone. And if I make that vertical there. All right, so just making sure it's cutting the cone there. And I can close that. I'm going to start a sketch now on the top plane. And it's going to be based on that sketch I'm after drawing. So I want it across the base of the cone. Make it vertical, so straight down. And then if I rotate my view, I want the bottom point of our first sketch and that line to be coincident. So sitting on top of each other. Now I have 3 points to create a plane. Reference geometry, plane. Click the 3 points. Now what we could have also have done was made that plane just parallel to the right plane or the front plane. But I just wanted just to practice creating points for a plane. So that's fully defined. And we have a plane there now. So you can hide them two sketches again. Same thing as the last two times. We need to create a surface plane now. So on plane 1, I'm creating a surface plane that'll cut through the object. Size of it doesn't matter. Just try to get it fairly neat looking, not massive. Okay, that's also looking in the wrong direction. I don't want to be looking in that direction there. So what I'll do is go back to plane 1 and edit feature and flip the normal. So I'm going to make that green. I'm going to hide that plane 1. And I want to get the intersection curve now between the two again. So sketching on that, I'm going to go to convert entities, intersection curve, and click the cone. If I tick that now, what I'm left with is the hyperbola. Okay, so now I have that outline of the hyperbola. I can close the sketch and change that sketch color then to something bright again. I want to find my focal sphere, and then I want to find my directrix using that again, and the focal point as well. So what I'm going to do, whatever plane gives us the surface plane as an edge view, I'm going to sketch on that. So it's a front plane for me. I'm going to create a sphere in here, and I'm going to make a tangent to all them edges again. Tangent to surface plane, and I want to make the center point directly below the apex, and that is fully defined there now. So you can see there's actually quite a small space between where that directrix is going to be and where that focal point is going to be, but that's fine. Draw a center line on the sphere, and we're going to use that to revolve. So make sure to untick merge result and thin feature. Okay, so I have my focal sphere, I have my cone, my hyperbola, and this surface plane. What I want to do now is find the other surface plane to find the directrix and find the focal point. So I'm going to start a sketch on that same plane again, looking at an edge view of the surface plane, and do the same thing we did before, the lines from the center of that circle out to the edges there. So making the line and the edge perpendicular, and the line and the edge of the cone perpendicular as well. Then we need to make this cone centric with that sphere. So it worked this time. If it doesn't, just hide the cone and then that'll allow you to do that. Okay, so now we've fully defined lines. We can close that sketch. I'm going to start a new sketch. So on that same plane, I'm going to draw a line on top of that line for the focal point, and I'm going to put a point at the end of it as well. Close that sketch and I can put a color on that. Then I want to create another plane, so parallel to the top plane, and that point there is going to go through as well. So that's giving us a line of contact between the sphere and the cone, which then the directrix is going to rest on the same plane as. So when I have that plane, I'm going to sketch a surface plane. I want to keep it the same width as the surface plane I already have. So what I'll do is I'll just draw it in roughly there first. Hold an edge, hover over, hold control as well, and find the end of that surface plane. So I'll just hide plane 2 if I can. Or I'll rotate my view actually. So just get that edge, hold control and select that edge and make them coincident. See, does it let me? Okay, so we can use that top point. So click the edge, hold control and select the top point of the other surface plane and make them coincident, and that'll just make sure it's the same width as that. So you can see the width is fully defined, the length isn't, but that doesn't matter too much. We can make a surface plane from that. Hide plane 2, and we'll just put a glass color on that again. I want to start a sketch now. Before I do that even, I'm just going to hide that sketch there. I'm going to start a sketch now on that horizontal plane. Okay, and I want to get the intersection curve between that and our cutting plane. That is the directrix. We can close that sketch and color that black. And then we want to do another sketch on that surface and get the intersection curve between the cone and the plane. Close that sketch again and color that whatever you want. Now what we have is we have our hyperbola. So that shows how the plane cuts the cone to find the hyperbola. We have our focal point, or our focus, which is the point of contact between the sphere, the focal sphere, and that cutting plane. And we have our directrix. The directrix is found by getting the line of contact between the focal sphere and the cone and creating a plane at that height. The plane then intersects the cutting plane and gives us the directrix. So that's all there is to that model. Fairly simple. Make sure to label the hyperbola, label the focal point, label the directrix, label the two planes, and you can label that line of contact and the focal sphere as well. Whatever way you want to label that, whatever way you think it shows it best, that's fine. If you want to even just put the model into a drawing sheet and then label it on the drawing sheet, that's fine as well. What I want you to do is to present the three different models on the one drawing sheet. So your parabola, your ellipse, and your hyperbola models all on one drawing sheet. Make sure to label the difference between them and write a few notes about what we said about the angle of the planes.